Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 883, World Cup Final, Flights and Fajitas. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined those with Eddie, or should I say Mr. Mural. For those following Eddie's Instagram account, he's been posting up pictures of murals like he's fucking Banksy over here.
Yeah, I think Banksy makes the murals, but I've been taking photos of the murals. But yeah, it turns out Houston, huge mural place. You know, like we've spoken, you and I have talked about, because we're planning this trip to Louisville, and every place I go, kind of semi-jokingly, if I've never really been there before as an adult, I do the Google like 10 best things to do in that place just to see, like, does something flag? And with a lot of random American cities, the list is not impressive, and random European cities. I'm not singling out America. With Houston, the list was not super impressive of the 10 best things to do. One of the suggested things was this like guided mural tour. And I was like, that can't be that interesting. I will say, now that I've been to Houston and seen just how many murals there are, if I go again, I might do the mural tour, because the murals are everywhere and they're huge, they're massive, and they're everywhere. Like either the government investment in encouraging murals or just the allowance of people to some of them are so high in the air. Obviously it's in coordination with the owners of the building and the government and stuff, and it must take fucking ages to do. But yeah, it's impressive. Of all the cities I've been to in the world, I might put Houston number one for murals.
Wow. Yeah. See, now I'm disappointed. Yeah. If I had known you were such a fan of the mural, Tucson has a good walking mural tour we could have done, because Arizona is another one of those states. I think they actually, like you said, they not encourage it, but like it's a good thing that they like to blend in with the city and kind of their pro mural and pro, not graffiti obviously, but like putting things on the buildings to kind of make the downtown look a little better. So Tucson always had a ton. If I had known, we could have done a little walking tour, because they have them. Like Krista did once, I think. So we could have done it, but maybe we'll have to look.
I'll say this.
I don't know about Louisville.
I'll say this. I don't know if I really want the tour, but whilst you're walking around in an otherwise horrifically ugly city, like my review of Houston from an aesthetic perspective could not be lower. It's just tall buildings and highways, like it's freeways that just cut through, just arteries that bisect and make the city uglier than you can possibly imagine. Like, to people listening who have never been to Houston, imagine the ugliest place you've ever imagined and make it 10 times uglier, and you will now be picturing Houston. But the murals are there to distract you from the rest of the ugliness, and it mostly works. It is also there to distract you because if you walk further than 10 steps, it is so hot and humid that your entire clothes are just drenched in sweat. And so at least you have reason to stop every once in a while and look at a mural, because I think I destroyed 10 t-shirts on that trip.
I don't know what destroyed means. This is a very aggressive word that you've used off chat or off podcast in our chat. It's just the way you describe that you've destroyed t-shirts. It's kind of disgusting.
So I'll say this. I think I have one t-shirt that is, I will see. I've put it in the wash today. I think it's past the point of no return in terms of just, it was so saturated with sweat that it may never recover. Like, that might be it for that one. That one I think is gone. The rest of them are fine.
The rest, it's just worn down the fibers.
Just, I think the combination of like sunscreen seeping into it, sweat, sun baking it, I've just destroyed that shirt. I mean, I think that shirt is genuinely, that one I think is done. The rest of them are fine. They're just a wash away from being good. But I think one of them may never recover from the Houston trip. I was disappointed with the lack of merch I was able to pick up in Houston. Longtime listeners of the podcast will know I'm a big merch guy. Merch game was not strong in Houston. I didn't get to any breweries, which will disappoint you. downtown Houston, there's not a lot
There's not
going
many
on.
breweries in Houston.
You had to drive everywhere, and so this is the problem is, like,
Yeah,
how far was I
America.
willing to dr but, I mean, even by American standards, Houston is, like, outrageous in terms of how far staying right downtown and just having nothing around you. So, there were breweries, but they're all on the outskirts, and I wasn't so I made the effort to go to Fast Eddie's, which was a pool hall. I went there on a Monday at 1 p.m. to buy a T-shirt because I just needed to. It was me and 3 other people in Fast Eddie's. Fast Eddie's must have 150 pool tables. Quite the spot oh, big place. 3 other people there when I walked in. The guy I was standing next to, so I walked up to the bar, which is just like the bar's just right in the middle. It's like a rectangular bar smack in the middle of all the pool tables. I walked up to get the bartender's attention and say, "Do you have merch?" Which is like the only questions like I don't want to drink and I don't want to play pool. I'm here for the merch, which is a bit of a weird request. The guy standing next to me just looked at me and goes, "Howdy." I was like, "Yeah, how are you doing?" And he then takes his drink, which he's just ordered, pulls out like a little set like packet of pills, pops some pills in his mouth and downs those with the drink, and then walks off to play some Monday afternoon pool. So that was his day.
Would they take like speed pills to get into the
Don't know
zone?
what it was. I guess maybe it was like Limitless, but he was
Yeah.
completely wasting the capacity of the pills to just beat himself at pool. But yeah, and then the bartender was slightly confused by my merch request. We went through it. She put in very little effort to give me any size options. She just pulled out a shirt and said, "Do you want this one?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the one I want."
How about this thing? That's a used scarf, ma'am, from the lost and found.
She literally went, "This is the one you want?" And I went, "Yeah, do you have any other sizes?" And she said, "I don't know." And I was like, "I guess that size will work." So I took that size, and then as I was buying it, that's when she told me the most amazing news, which is if you buy a T-shirt from Fast Eddie's and you wear it to the bar on a Tuesday or pool hall, I guess is the appropriate term, you can play pool for free. It's an unbelievable offer. $24 shirt, and you can play pool for free every Tuesday if you want to.
Did you go back?
No,
Oh,
no, didn't have that
so
much. Didn't have that much free time.
so you know what? They can take you and the $24 you spent and put it towards the people who are actually using it to the benefit. You've offset the
And
cost.
maybe she's just playing chess when I'm playing checkers, and she's like, "It's a Monday. This guy's only coming for merch. He will never come back. So I'm gonna pick any other day of the week and tell him if he wears the T-shirt on that day, he gets free pool because I'm gonna bet I'm never gonna see him again." And maybe that's what she does. So if I go on a Tuesday, she'd be like, "If you buy a T-shirt, Wednesday is free pool." But, yeah, it was other than that, it was good, but yeah, very little merch. I went to Buc-ee's. I bought a T-shirt at Buc-ee's.
Bucky doesn't have good merch. It's too
No, I
much.
was little too yeah, a little too much. It was an interesting experience.
What
It
did you
was
eat?
3 different types of I got like, club
Club.
melt. Yeah, it
Club
was like a
melt.
turkey. Yeah, I'd
God,
already had
Andrew,
lots of
come on.
barbecue.
What the hell? Who goes to Bucky's where they do the brisket right in the middle and gets a fucking club melt?
I'd had so much barbecue at that point.
What
I
else did you
was
get?
happy from Buc-ee's. I got some beef jerky. I
How was
got some
that?
cookies.
The beef jerky was
Beef
pretty
jerky
good.
was it was good.
Yeah.
I
Did you
got
get the
some
the
cookie
beaver nuggets?
didn't, no.
Ah,
Yeah. I got some cookies. I got a Rice Krispie treat.
nice.
That was good. I mean, it tasted like a Rice Krispie treat. Um, I got 2 dog toys, not the highest quality. I will recommend to listeners of the podcast who ever go to Buc-ee's, unsurprisingly, if you buy the dog toy, your dog will likely destroy those within minutes of getting access to them, which is what has happened. So, yeah, but 3 different types of people. There was like me, there were tourists experiencing Buc-ee's, just like walking around being like, "Oh, this is insane." For listeners of the podcast, Buc-ee's is just like It's a gas station and it's huge and it sells everything you could possibly imagine that a gas station would sell plus more. So there's food, which is good. There's impeccably clean bathrooms, which is their claim to fame.
That's why my mom
There's
goes.
like,
My mom stops at
yeah,
Buc-ee's every time because that's the cleanest bathrooms on a road trip.
literally says above them, cleanest bathrooms in the world. They are
I,
extremely clean.
so I mean that's why some of our listeners might know Tim. He went to Buc-ee's and then decided to pee all over the floor to test that theory. So
When went back 2 minutes later just to see if it was cleaned up,
yeah,
or just stood in there waiting for the cleaning crew. Gotcha. but, but and so there was me, there's like people like me just sort of like, this is weird, both foreign and American, just sort of like being in Texas, like looking around. Again, for listeners of the podcast unfamiliar, it's a Texas chain, but it's now expanded to some other states, and probably in the not too distant future will probably be in every state because it's wildly successful and kind of ironically popular,
I think
sort
Eddie,
of.
I think you're also underselling how big it is. Like, so
Yes.
first off, there's like, so I also recently went to my first Buc-ee's about a month ago, so like 2, 3 weeks before you did, in Arizona because they just built the one in Arizona. So that one was like a massive tourist trap. Like there were 400 people in this store. But first off, there's like 80 gas pumps at the one I went to. There's
Yeah.
like a ton of gas pumps, and then inside it's like bigger than most grocery stores.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if you're a British listener, it's probably the size of most Tesco's. To give you context, I mean,
Like a full
here's the one
Tesco.
thing.
Like a full Tesco.
Yeah, the one thing I will warn listeners: if you're in Texas, there are small Buc-ee's and there are big Buc-ee's. So the first Buc-ee's I went to, when I put it into the GPS, that Buc-ee's was just a gas station. Like it was
Oh,
looked like any other
okay.
gas station, and then had to go 25 miles somewhere else to get to a big Buc-ee's. But the the big Buc-ee's, so the person who then I spoke to afterwards and told them this story, they were like, "Oh, there's a big Buc-ee's being built." To give context to listeners, he was like, there was a chain of like there was a block of stores that closed down that Buc-ee's bought all of them. It included a bowling alley, a movie theater, a Walmart, and like one other thing, and they've just bought the whole like block of it and are turning it into a Buc-ee's. So that's how like large it is.
It's massive.
But yeah, there was a Taurus. There was the people who just love Buc-ee's. Probably mostly quite conservative Americans. There's a lot of that messaging flowing through some Buc-ee's. And then there was some ironically present like liberals there, if I wanted to use American terminology to describe it, who are like almost like being at a zoo, who were like going around taking pictures of stuff. And you could see it was annoying the people. Like I was kind of floating through anonymously, but then you saw there was like the people who were there, like, I'm here to buy my fishing gear. And then there's someone there being like, can you believe they sell this? And like taking a photo of it, just annoying the other person. It was wonderful to watch. And I love the fact that I saw someone walking through with just a fuck libtards t-shirt, which I just cannot believe you like, you just like leave the house in a fuck libtards. It's just amazing.
Yeah. When I went last month, I spent $43 on lunch. And for our listeners, the lunch is extremely cheap. Like I
Yes.
bought I bought a sliced brisket sandwich, a chopped brisket sandwich, a Carolina pulled pork sandwich, uh the beaver nuggets, which are like basically if you took corn pops and made them 50 times sweeter than they already are, that's what beaver nuggets are. And then a whoopie pie, beef jerky, and like one other thing. It was like an impressive amount of money I had to spend to get to the amount that I did, and it was good. Like the barbecue is good barbecue. If someone was like, "Where do I get good barbecue in Texas?" I'm not going to say go to Buc-ee's, but if you're on like a road trip and it's like, "Hey, we got to stop
Yeah,
somewhere
it's
to get
good.
gas and a quick lunch," it's way better than any other gas station option you're going to have. Like it's legitimate good. Like I would eat it again for
Or
lunch just on a
or
normal
or
day.
fast food option.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if
yeah,
you
better
told
than
me,
fast food as well.
are
Yeah,
we stopping at McDonald's or Buc-ee's? It's a
yeah,
no-brainer that I would stop at
yeah,
Buc-ee's. Like
yeah,
it's a easy one for me. I spent $140.
yeah. But you bought like
I mean,
memorabilia.
a couple things, but not that much. I mean, there was a lot of food. I brought back 2, like, because they had like
Eh,
rubs, Buc-ee's rubs, so I bought,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
biscuit rub
Beef
and
rubs, beef
some
rubs. Let's be a
other
little specific here.
yeah, yes.
Like
Yeah, I
meat
bought some
rubs.
massages. I bought some massages from some guys in the impeccably clean bathrooms, and my god, those rub downs were good. But, yeah, it was I bought some beef rubs, meat rubs, and various things. But yeah, I didn't realize as I was throwing things into my basket just how much it was like kind of like a Costco like experience where all of a sudden you realize you spent more than you planned on. But yeah, no, it was cool. I mean, I bought a huge drink for like $1.12. That's
Yeah.
America, but that was like, but yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so I
And other than
I
that, my Texas food experience, I did go to two very good barbecue places. So I can highly recommend if you're in the Houston area. I went to the Pit Room and I went to Pinkerton's, both of which were excellent. Pinkerton's in particular, like not only great barbecue, but the bar was awesome. And I was speaking to the bartender for a while. I wore my Pim's t-shirt, which I think you've seen me wear.
yeah.
I bought this Pim's t-shirt really just to wear with you when we were in London. I wore it twice in Houston, both times. No, I went to Pinkerton's. I went up to the bar to order, and the guy was like, "You must be industry." And I said, "What?" He was like, "You must be industry. You're wearing a Pim's t-shirt." And I said, "I'm not industry here." I was like, "I used to be industry in Paris 15 years ago." But
Industry.
and then we had
Fuck off.
yeah. Got a lot of free drinks out of that t-shirt though. He then started giving us a taste. They clarify a lot of their alcohol.
Oh,
So, for example, you can get
so good.
they're clarified whiskey. So for listeners, like they're taking the whiskey, they're putting a bit of like fresh citrus juice in it. They're then putting it in with room temperature milk so it curdles, and then they are straining the byproduct. So the whiskey comes out clear but way smoother. The alcohol
It
percentage
yeah.
remains the same. Like and they're doing that with a lot of their
Great
drinks, a lot of their
mouthfeel. Great
cocktails and stuff.
mouthfeel.
Yeah.
That's what clarifying
So
does.
he
It
was
gives you
like,
a good
walk.
mouthfeel.
Yeah. So he's walking me through all their stuff. It was really, really good. And then I went to another place. I went to a coffee place in a very Instagrammable coffee place in Houston, and I was not ordering coffee, but and I was wearing my Pim's t-shirt, and the person running the place went, "Do you work for Pim's?" And I said, "I don't. Sorry to disappoint you." She's like, "Oh, why do you have a Pim's t-shirt?" And I was like, I really like horse racing, and there's a lot of Pims at horse racing, and so I bought a Pim's t-shirt. But then she became
Disappointing.
fascinated with that part of it.
You should have been like,
But
"Do you work for Pims?" "Bill Pims, nice to meet you."
Eddie Pims, 19th generation of Pims family. 19 generations ago, my dad, my great 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 grandfather Brian Pims married my great 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 grandmother Carolyn Cupp, and the two of them combined to make an empire. But yeah, it was so my other tip, if you go to Houston, wear a Pim shirt, gets a lot of attention. Might get you some free drinks.
Yeah, so I spent the last week
And my
in Madison, Wisconsin with, our listeners might know, friend of the podcast, Tim. We've told a few Tim stories over the years. Um, Madison's okay. I I will say it is really neat to be on a campus where you can literally go to their like student union center, and the back end of their student union center is on a lake, and it's got this enormous, I don't know, 100 table terrace, and they sell beer, which is pretty unique for a college campus, and you can just kind of sit out on the terrace overlooking the lake and like drink beers, and there's a good mix of like students, graduate students, faculty, parents, just all kind of hanging out in the back of the student union having some drinks and kind of watching on the lake. And there was some crazy like kite surfing going on, or whatever that's called, the parasurfing or parasurfing, I guess, going on. So that was kind of cool. But I did go with Tim, and I had one pretty good Tim story, which I thought was a good discussion point we can bring up. The first day he came, he had on like this black t-shirt, just like plain black t-shirt. And then the next day we went to go somewhere, and he had on like the same black t-shirt. And I said to him, I said, like, did you just wear that shirt yesterday? Like, do you need to do laundry? Like, you just got here. Like, I have my washer and dryer. And he said to me, he goes, no, 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 no. This is all I wear now. I bought 8 of these black t-shirts from this place, and I just wear the same black t-shirt every day. And
He's Mark Zuckerberg.
He said it really just makes things easy for him because he doesn't have to think about what he's wearing, and he doesn't have to worry about, like, a shirt being clean or something because he'll just have a backup. And for the entire 7 days I was with him, he wore the same black T-shirt every day.
Yeah, this is what Mark Zuckerberg was famous for, right? In like the early Facebook
And
days, and
Steve
it's like,
Jobs too.
oh, yes, it's like, oh, it's such a productivity boost because you never have to think about what you're wearing. Personally, I don't waste that much time in the morning thinking about what I'm going to throw on. So like, I can maybe get if you're a super famous CEO, it's maybe a smart move. If you get to that point where you think I'm going to be photographs are going to be taken of me and I need to
Well,
be
he's halfway
presentable, can
there.
I settle on yeah, yeah. Can I settle on one outfit that I can then just wear and then it's not dating where I was when I was in case we use it or at the same time I don't have to put too much thought into it? Maybe I get it then. Maybe. But as a normal human being, I mean, you're not losing that much time. Because my counter to that would be find a plain T-shirt you like then and buy it in 4 different colors. You know what I mean? Like, just have 4 base colors and then go like, I wear the black one day, the blue one day, the green one day, the white one day, and I know they fit and I know they're fine. Because my suspicion would be if you're doing that, that actually he traveled with 3 T-shirts, but he's claiming to have 9. You know, like, that's
Yeah,
the
who knows
real
how many he
move
traveled
there.
with. His other
Yeah.
claim, T-shirt related, is that there's another T-shirt company he really likes that in the end he didn't. I don't think maybe he has like one. Again, it's a plain black T-shirt, but a different company from the 8 ones that he has of the same. That it's some sort of wool, and the company. This is his claim. He said the company said you can wear it 30 days straight without washing it, and it will not smell or have any issues at all. It's like some marine wool or merino wool or something like that. And I said
Merino wool.
there is no fucking way on planet Earth that I could wear a T-shirt 30 days in a row and it would not smell after 30 days. I do not. He said if you wear it and, like, tell them that, then, like, you get, like, your money back or something. And I was like, this is just
Good
a ploy for you
lord.
to smell terrible because there's no way. I wanna know, like, it's not possible.
But this is the thing, right? This feels like in the last 15 to 20 years, we've had the whole like antimicrobial like advent within clothing, which yeah, 30 days is a bold claim. But there's things like there's a lot of them are podcast sponsors, which will be like this t-shirt has these antimicrobial qualities and you can wear it multiple days in a row. Underwear that you could do it. And it's like, do you know what? Could you get away with that most days? Of course. Like, have I worn a t-shirt? You know, like I wear some t-shirts twice without washing them because if I just wear them around the house, fine. Can I wear, you know, like, could I get away? I don't wear the same underwear twice because I have enough pairs of underwear. But could I get away with it on some days without being like, man, that smells? 100% yes. But could I wear it? I want to see the Houston test for these claims of this. Send me out there to any companies listening to this. I will go to Houston and wear your clothing for 5 days in a row. Your underwear, your t-shirts, your whatever, and then we can do a smell test. And if it can pass the smell test after 5 days of me swamp assing my way around Houston, you have a customer for life. I will Mark Zuckerberg your clothing and never think twice. And all my Christmas presents to everyone I know ever will be the clothing that you have. That is fine. But I don't believe that it can actually stand up. It's like, yeah, can you be in Paris on a February day and wear the t-shirt a couple times in a row and not have it be noticeable? Assuming you shower, you know, like that's also the thing. Assuming you smell good every time you're putting the t-shirt on, 100%. Do I think the person who throws a t-shirt on 30 times in a row smells good to begin with? Probably not, which is gonna be one of the issues.
So so, yeah, it's Merino Wool is one of the companies, so Merino, no free ads. But, I think it's them or it's another one who does something very similar where this is what he said, is if you wear it for 30 days straight, like, and you document it, then you can get a free gift card. And that's what he
How do you
said.
document your how do you
I don't
document your
know.
smell?
I No, you document yourself wearing it for 30 days straight.
Oh, okay.
Like, I guess they don't care if you smell, but if you just show if you prove you wear it for 30 days straight, then they'll give you, like, gift cards or something. There's no
'Cause
way.
they know they know no one's gonna do it. It's it's like the opposite.
Tim almost did it.
LL Bean is just the wonderful, like, you can return anything, anytime, no questions asked. This is a reverse. This is actually the, like, anti-LL Bean, where they're giving you a challenge that's basically unpassable. I'll also say this, I mean, wool collects I have merino wool stuff. Wool makes you sweat quite a bit. I mean, even when people claim to have breathable wool, you throw it on and you're like, "This is not that breathable." I mean, all things are relative. Breathable wool can be more breathable than, like, stuffy wool, but it's not more breathable than things made out of anything other than wool. So, like, I don't know. I don't believe
Yeah.
it, but I
So,
we'll
I
see.
have to say, this was just for our listeners, I want them to be as disappointed as I was, and actually Olivier was too, when we found out that you spent almost a week in Texas, but 1, failed to bring your cowboy hat with you, and 2, failed to buy a new cowboy hat so you could
I came so
utilize it
close.
on the trip. And I have to say, so I just flew from Minneapolis and now I'm in National Harbor, Maryland, so, like, right outside of DC, and there was a guy on the plane. He got up out of his seat, he opened his little the where the luggage goes up above, and he didn't
Overhead
pull out
compartment.
the overhead, he didn't pull out a backpack, he just pulled out his nice cowboy hat, put it on. I kid you not, gave the little nod to the woman behind him and turned around and walked out of the plane, and I have to say it was one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen anyone do on a plane, and that could be
So
you, but you failed to bring it with you.
So I didn't bring it with me because I didn't think I mean, there are a lot of cowboy hats being worn in Houston for sure. I did not bring it with me. I did come pretty close to buying another one, but I have decided that I will buy a new one in Louisville
Whoa, like a
to
nicer
because I
one?
think
Like a Stetson,
I think I already have a Stetson, but I have a Stetson,
like a
straw
nice
hat.
Stetson, yeah, like a
Yeah,
leather.
but we'll s I don't know, leather, but
Well, I don't know what
we'll
it
see,
is. I
but
don't know what cowboy hats
I'm
are made of. They're not leather?
gonna go um yeah, I think I don't know, but I think like beaver skin and like stuff on leather. Like I'm gonna join the village people, but the the um I was close. I got a recommendation. I told
Felt.
you I went to an event. Felt. I told you I went to an event and there was a guy wearing a and I thought to myself, I could have worn my cowboy hat to this. I couldn't have because I'm not a real Texan. So this guy was, you know, bled Texan. So he could wear it. He was in his suit and his cowboy hat. And then at a certain moment in time, I spoke to him I told him like I had a friend in Arizona, and when I was going to Arizona, I was buying one cowboy item every time to like put the outfit together. And basically at this stage, I'm just missing like cowboy boots. The boots are the big thing I'm missing, but those seem like an expensive investment. Uh, he told me he was very encouraging. He told me, you know what, you look like a guy who can carry that outfit off 100%. He was like, "Don't be ashamed. You wear that. You wear that even in Paris. You should wear it around and be proud." And then he asked me if I could
Love
ride
it.
a horse, and I said, "I can ride a horse." And he went, "That's all you need. That's all you need. If you can ride a horse, you can be a cowboy." And he gave me a huge amount of encouragement. He told me the places in Houston to go and buy a hat. I came very close. I just didn't have time. But I will buy a new hat in Louisville because my hat is a
Alright.
little beaten up now from various trips. So I think I need a new one anyway. And I'm going to fly to the US in November, well, in October for the Breeders' Cup. No cowboy hat. and I will buy one pre-Breeders' Cup to be ready to go.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure, pre-Breeders' Cup, to have to find one.
It's not that much. I think in Louisville, I can do it in like 3 hours, but the
Hours.
I'm
You
not
think I
gonna go,
wanna
"Oh."
spend you think I wanna spend 3 hours with you while you shop for a fucking cowboy hat? What are we, like, dress shopping? I'm like the fucking maid of honor. I gotta watch you try on 100 wedding dresses.
You gotta find the right one. You gotta find the one that speaks to you. But no, no, I mean, I think I could do it ultimately, I'll probably end up buying a new straw one because it's just cost prohibitive. I don't
No. You gotta go
dude, I
all
can't
in. Come on.
see, here's the problem I have is I go all in and, like, I will buy the most expensive straw hat, and I feel fine on that. But the problem is I can't buy a cheap felt or, like, beaver, whatever hat. So I can't justify spending $1,400 on a hat I wear once a year. That is outrageous. And I can't wear it more than once a year because I can't wear it in Paris. I just can't do it. I can't be I can't be that guy because I don't if I were from any sort of southern western state, I would 100% do it, but
Look, I'm
I
looking
can't.
at on Stetson right now, and the Stetson, there's some nice felt hats for, like, 300.
My budget will be $400.
There's some nice ones here for
I have to
400 for sure. I think you can get a
well,
pretty
we'll
decent
see.
one for 400.
If I have 3 hours, then maybe I can spend $400 on a nice one. We'll see how I do.
I like some of these. They're nice.
He was highly encouraging.
Maybe I'll go.
He really I was nearly he told me the place to go. I drove by it. I'll be honest. So I was coming back from something and someone else was driving me who had also already been very generous with deciding to drive me and saving me like $150 Uber in driving me back from this thing. And like not majorly inconveniencing themselves by doing so, but slightly. And as we were going by, I had the thought of, can I ask them to also then stop at this store for like 15 minutes? I knew I would be fast because I know I'll make my mind up quickly. I'm not a like hesitant shopper. If I put it on, I like it. It's gonna be good to go, and we'll be out the store. But I just couldn't. I didn't feel like I could ask them.
So
So
a quick AI search says that you can do the entry level is a 4 times buffalo felt, and that's in like the 170 to 200 range. Then you can go up to the premium mid range, which is the 5 time to 6 time fur felt, and that's a higher grade blend of wild furs like rabbit and beaver, offer a much softer, sharper feel, and they go for 3 to 400 for Stetson. And then you get into the higher end of 30 times to 100 time pure beaver. And that scales from 800 to 1400. Poor Bucky. Bucky just getting murdered for those high end beaver fur hats.
see, this is the problem though, is I know I'm so susceptible to being upsold on things. I know I am. I know it's in me. And I know that I will do the incremental price increase. I will always be willing to spend $200 more, and you can make me make that calculation in my mind 7 times. So this is the problem is I know that once like this is the advantage of going straw hat is I know that the ceiling is like $350 and I can hit that ceiling and be comfortable. As soon as I go felt or other material, I know that someone in the store, the right person, if they're a smooth talker, they're going to convince me that everything is, well, if you're into this one's a bit better. And then once they get me there, well, they're just walking me up the stairs towards the hat no one has ever bought before. And I could get there. It's like, I know
I don't
myself.
know. It's a
I've
big
been through
jump.
it.
Like it's one thing to go from like 150, 200 to like 300s. It's another thing to go from 300s to 1,000. That's I can help you out
I
there. If you need a voice, I can help you out there.
I know myself, Frank. I know how this can go. I'm just telling you, I know how this can go. And this is part of the reason I'll get us onto the next topic in a sense. It's part of the reason why probably I'm not a big upgrade person. because once I think I should upgrade or once I decide to upgrade, then it's like, well, why don't I just upgrade again? Why don't I upgrade again? So I was flying back from Houston. We obviously spoke about my flight out there. I was a man of the people. I was in economy. On the flight back, I decided I looked the day before. The upgrade from economy to premium economy was pretty cheap. It was like 250 euros. And I thought, you know what? For 10 hours, 250 euros to make sure I need to, especially going that way, like coming back to Europe, I
Yeah, it's
the jet
nice.
lag is a little bit worse because of how those time zones shift and you land in the morning. So it's like I really want to try and get some sleep on the flight so the more comfortable seat makes sense. So I upgraded. I had premium economy in the emergency exit. So unlimited foot space, like leg room. But then I looked and I was like, actually, to upgrade to business is only an additional $300. So that was super tempting. I thought, no, you know what? I won't do that. So having decided not to upgrade, I thought, you know what? I can't. I'm gonna go through the incremental steps. If I go economy, premium economy, business, next thing I know, I'm gonna be in first class. So I decided premium economy is good enough. I'll get the leg room I need, and I'll be fine. I can recline slightly without feeling bad, and I'll be able to get the rest I need on this 9.5 hour flight. And then I got
What's
to
the
the airport.
flight?
I thought to
What's the
myself, like, maybe it will
what's the
get
airlines?
airline, Air France. So I got to the airport and I was like checking the cost of the upgrade because it was actually getting less and less expensive because business class was not filling up. And so I got to it and like at check-in, I did the like, hey, are there any upgrades available? Do you think I could get an upgrade? And this is the question I had to ask you. What's the statute of limitations on me bringing up the fact that I've had my gallbladder removed? Because this is the first question. Because I was happy to throw that out there of like, had my gallbladder removed, extra space and being able to recline might be useful. Um, and the woman was very understanding. So she was like, I think we can just upgrade you for free from premium economy to business. Because she was like, there are like 10 empty business class seats. So I don't think this should be a problem. And then she was like going through the process, and then her manager came to take a look. And then he said, like, no, you can use miles or you can pay, and it's an extra $400 or whatever to upgrade to business. And I said, no, I'm okay then. And just moved along. And she said, just ask them at the gate and see. At the gate, they probably will do it. She's like, I don't think this flight is going to fill up in business. So just ask them at the gate. They'll probably upgrade you for free. So at the gate, I tried again. I waited till like 30 minutes before boarding and I went up to them. And I was a little undone by the fact that they called like 10 people to my gate to say, hey, please come and see us. If you do not come and see us, you cannot get on this plane. I don't know what was going on with the 10 people who got called for this. And I showed up and I said, I'm not one of the 10 people you've called. However, I was just interested in seeing if you could upgrade me. So we had basically the same dance. And then she told me, we can't do it. And she was like, I could do it. The problem is you've already paid for an upgrade. And now that you've paid for one upgrade, I can't upgrade your seat again because you've already done like singular upgrade that's I can do within my system. So she said, I can't do it, but you know who can do it is the people on the plane. So wait until you get on the plane and tell them. She was like, this is not going to, business class is not going to be full. So you ask them. So like as I was getting on, I kind of looked at her again. I was like, is business class full? Because I don't want to ask this as I'm getting on the plane if there's no opportunity. She said, no, there's 2 spare seats in business class. So you're fine. So I got onto the plane and I was sitting, because I was in the emergency exit in premium economy, I was like the last seat before business class anyway. So then I spoke to the person. I was like, hey, just so you know, I spoken to the person at check-in and I spoke to the person at the gate and they
They
told me
both
that you
said
could
no.
probably upgrade me. Um, they told me to ask on the flight because you can't upgrade me because I already had upgraded myself, blah, blah, blah. I had my gallbladder removed. Like reclining would be useful. It's a long flight. She was like, yeah, I think we can do that. No problem. She was like, let me just check that no one gets
Wow.
onto the plane with an upgrade. She's like, "As long as no one else," she's like, "I don't wanna give you that seat until," she's like, "right before when we're closing the doors, I will do it for you." And so I was like, "Oh, awesome. I'll just sit tight. I'll sit here." I also said, "It's no big deal. If you can't do it, no worries." You know, I'm trying to be
Just the
as nice
tone
as
of your
possible
voice
throughout
right
the
now,
process.
I
She
know how this story ends.
So then yeah. So then she's, like, ready to go. She, like, gets out her little iPad and she's, like, doing it, and then, like, the porter comes over, and the porter is like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She's like, "I'm just upgrading this gentleman because we have 2 spare seats in business class." And he was like, "You can upgrade him, but he has to use his miles. He has to use miles. We're not upgrading him for free." And he was like, "Sir, do you have enough miles to upgrade yourself?" I was like, "Well, how many miles does it take?" Because I was like, "I don't fly with Air France that often, so I don't have that many Air France miles. However, I do have miles and points on other systems that I can transfer to Air France. So if you tell me how many miles it is, maybe I'm happy to do it." And he was like, I can't see on the system how many miles it takes, but I'll come back and I'll tell you later." He was like, "First, we're going to take off, and then I'm going to tell you." And he was like, "Once we're in the air and the fasten seatbelt sign comes off, we'll sort this out." I was like, "Perfect. That's fine by me." I sit there patiently. Takeoff happens. He comes up. He kneels down next to me with his iPad once the fasten seatbelt signs come off. I got a little attention from people sitting around me because I had a lot of conversations with the flight crew at this point. Like numerous members of the flight crew had come up to speak to me, been promising me things. So that I was getting some eyeballs from people sitting around me. And this guy, like, as soon as a fasten seatbelt sign comes up, he's like kneeling down to me next to his iPad, and he was like, he was like, "So it would take 60,000 miles for you to upgrade from premium economy to business class."
Well, that's not
I was
bad.
like, and I didn't really want to do that at this point because I'm not a big upgrade person. I was like, "That's not that many miles, and I have those many miles and points and other things." So I was like, "Okay, I'll transfer that over and we can do that." And he was like, "Well, you would have had to have done that before takeoff." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "We have to do the upgrade."
Yes.
He was like, he, he was like, "We have to do the upgrade before takeoff. I can't change the system now." He's like, the system has allocated your seat to you, and we cannot mid-flight change it." I was like, "But you told me we would do this like after takeoff. I could have done it before takeoff if you told me how many miles it was. I would have transferred it over. We could have done it." He's like, "I understand, but we can't do it now. I'm really sorry. We can't do it now." I was just like, "Okay."
What an elaborate
So I
ruse
stuck
to
him.
just not get you on first class. Like,
Yeah. And everyone up until that point, he was the first person. He was the first, and, like, whenever you need something from any kind of customer support or anything, he was the first up until that point. As listeners of the podcast will know, I deal with a lot of customer support. I can tell. I can tell when I've got him. Up until that point, I had every person I had dealt with had been amenable, like, maniable, malleable even. I had been in a situation when I knew that with the right politeness and charm, I could get what I wanted if I played my cards right. He was the first person, unfortunately, he was the final boss in this situation. He was the first one who I could not get past. So I I was stuck.
yeah, it's tough. It's so having now flown enough and, like, dealt with the customer service people, when they say that, like, they can't do anything at their desk, it is 100% a lie, because there are times where they do it, and then there are times when someone's like, "I can't do it here." And it's like, "I know you can because the last flight I took, I asked the same thing, and the person who's you right now did it for me." So, like, you can use that lie and, like, that's fine, whatever, just be honest and be like, "I'm not gonna do it," or like, I won't do it." It's not like they always give you like, "I can't," but talk to someone at the gate and they can do it. It's like you guys have, like, almost the same shit. If you really want to do it, you could.
But, sometimes I think that's just like the asshole test, because I think what they're really saying is like, I can do it, and I know I can do it. But I'm gonna test whether you're gonna call me on my ability to do it. And if you don't call me on it, your chances of the next person helping you are exponentially increased. because rather than doing the like, I fly a lot and you could definitely do this. Someone has done this for me before, which is like, all right, fuck off then. Like that's that sounds like a you problem at this stage. If you play along with their game, you at least have the chance that eventually someone goes, you know what, this person has been incredibly patient and has been polite at every step and has put up with various excuses. And so I'm going to do them the favor now. And I feel
And
like that's always my feeling with customer support.
you know what you really have to do sometimes is you have to be willing to take the downgrade so they can write in their notes, this guy, this guy took a downgrade, so he is legitimate. His
No,
condition is for
no.
real. He
See,
once took a downgrade to get an aisle seat. Next time, give him the upgrade. He's not lying. That will pay off.
so I wasn't that stupid. I wasn't that stupid. I wasn't like, do you know what would be better than my current seat? Anywhere stuffed in the middle seat in economy. That would be better. That's how much I need an upgrade. I wasn't that dumb. So at least I didn't risk finding myself in a worse situation. However, mid flight or like when breakfast was being served, actually. So with like an hour and a half to go on the flight, I had my AirPods in and I had been wearing the eye mask to like try and help myself sleep. And they came around with breakfast, so I like went to take the eye mask off. And as I went to take the eye mask off, I like pulled one of my AirPods out. AirPod flicked out my left AirPod, so the aisle, because I was in a two, AirPod goes flying into the aisle. And I can't find it anywhere. It's one of those things. Is like I can't panic about this. Like I can't just inconvenience the entire world on this
Yeah.
plane and ask them to now help me find my AirPod. Like I have to accept that probably it is gone because what am I supposed to do? So I went on my phone and did the like find my phone, like find my device and like played the sound out of the specific, and I could hear it. I could hear that my AirPod was somewhere, but there's so much airplane noise that I can't actually pinpoint where it is. But I was like, I can hear that it is here somewhere in my vicinity. And then eventually I was kind of casually trying to look, like without embarrassing myself with how much I was looking. And one of the flight attendants came up and asked me, and she was like, "Oh, you can look under the seat. Sometimes they go under the seat." So she kind of helped me like pull the seat out and like look in it. I said, but it came off my left ear. So I don't think it would have gone under the seat anyway. I think it would have gone in the aisle and then will be somewhere. And I was suspicious of the fact that sort of behind me in the aisle was this woman who had like a huge blanket on her to sleep. And I was like, I'm sure it's just gone in the blanket because it's the likely trajectory it would have gone in. And it's the reason why when I look back, I can't see it anywhere is it's in this blanket. And so the stewardess kind of, or flight attendant, starts helping me. She asks the person behind me. And then this woman was like, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And the flight attendant was like, "Oh, he's lost one AirPod." And she was like, "What does the AirPod look like?" I was like, "It's a white AirPod. Like it's a white headphone, like earbud." And she's like, "You one of them?" I was like, "Yeah, I've only lost one of them." And she's like, "Oh." And then her kid, she's like, "Oh, he found it." And then her kid just has the fucking AirPod. And I was like, you didn't think to yourself when you found this one thing, which is like obviously not part of the plane. It's not a toy that your kid should. You didn't think to yourself, "Oh wow, I found this. Maybe I should alert someone to the fact that definitely someone has lost this. Maybe in a crazy world, someone on the previous flight lost it. In which case, still like." If I'd lost two and you've taken both of them, I can at least see that you're getting a benefit out of it. But unless she happened to be someone who's like, I lost my left AirPod years ago and I've been looking for a left one for ages. Like, what's the possible reason for holding on to it? I couldn't believe it. I don't think even the flight attendant could quite believe.
That's
I was like,
so weird.
why didn't you say anything?
That's so
And
strange.
on top of it too, I had at this point for like 45 minutes been like kind of looking for something. Like undoubtedly, if you were sitting around me, you were aware of the fact that I had been like, let me look under the seat. Let me look a little bit here. I'm like not trying to get in your way, but like let me look. And still not a word. It was so bizarre.
That's so weird. That kid just wanted one left earbud that would die very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So useful. And my final before, because I guess at some point we had to discuss the World Cup final itself and not like match analysis, but or at least the some of the fallout from the final. My only other Houston travel related story is, you and I off podcast spoke about that I was in the land of Tex-Mex, which, knowing the difference between what's Mexican food and what's Tex-Mex, I think to me is like kind of confusing at times. But I guess the biggest example of that is the fajita, which is like considered Tex-Mex and not Mexican, and like basically is the only thing other than like sticking like stuff that like non-Mexican stuff in tacos and burritos. Like it's the only thing that's like really, and like loaded nachos, I guess. It's sort of like more Tex-Mex. But I went to this place which was like the home, like the originator of the fajita. And
Keep in
I was
mind,
confused when ordering
it's, it's like I don't get it.
an
It's
unbaked
literally
taco.
just it's just a taco, but like with meat that's on a sizzler, like a sizzling plate. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
It's just a taco you make for yourself, but on a really, really, the meat's on a really hot plate.
With peppers
And
and
like, I
onions.
mean, the fajita's everywhere in the world. Yes. The fajita's everywhere. Like it's kind of spread universally. I don't think many people will have like not had a fajita. I say this when I say that. I mean, within, a fairly large portion of the world. Um, and I was confused because on this menu, there were so many types of fajitas, like things I'd never seen on a fajita, including the one that confused me the most was there were barbecue rib fajitas. So I asked the waiter, like the waiter came over and I was like, how do the barbecue rib fajitas work? Like, are you barbecuing ribs and then you're like like deboning the ribs and then that's what's being brought to me and then I'm making my fajitas? And he took that as, you don't know what a fajita is. So now let me explain to you what a fajita is. So he was just like,
You got
so
caught.
we bring you meat, we bring you meat and we bring you tortillas and we bring you rice and we bring you beans. And then you can have some other like fillings. And then when they brings it to you, you like fill your tortilla with things and then you eat it. And I was like, yeah, I understand what a fajita is. I don't understand. I'm obviously not sticking like a rib inside my fajita. So how does that work? Are you bringing me the ribs or are you deboning the ribs? And he's like, no, no. So you make your fajitas. He like still was confused by my question and treating me like a moron.
So you got him.
And then like after me after me rephrasing it, he was then eventually like, no, no. So we just bring you ribs and then you can pull the meat off the ribs and then make your fajitas, which I was like, that sounds like the messiest meal I've ever eaten. So I'm not going to get those. I will get something else. But like, I can't believe that like I'm going to like get barbecue ribs all over my hands and myself to like peel the meat off and then fill a tortilla with it. But yeah, I passed. Good fajitas though. Very, very tasty. I'll give them this best fajita meat I've ever had in my life. I had pork, beef, and chicken. All delicious.
Well, I will say, like in Tucson, like I that yeah, that's so you can get like rib tacos, and what they have is just like the rib like sits in the taco, and then you literally just pull the bone out. Like it's like fall off the bone meat. So like all you touch is like the little piece of bone and pull it out. That's really nice. But that doesn't sound like that's what it was.
It probably was that because I will say that like everything else they brought was super tender. So based on the experience of like the pork, for example, that I got, which didn't have a bone in it, but was still like a big piece of pork and you could break it up like really easily. It was very tender. I'm going to guess the ribs would have actually been fairly easy to deal with, would have been like super meaty and I could have got it off like nicely. And if he had explained that to me, if that had been his response, was like, oh, I understand what you're thinking. But whilst we bring you actual ribs, they are so tender, the meat just falls off the bone and you're going to be able to like load your fajitas with it, no problem. Then I would have probably ordered them. But instead, I got treated like the first guy who'd ever walked into that restaurant who had no concept of what a fajita was. So, on that note, 55 minutes into the podcast.
We're not a travel
Should we
podcast. Not a travel
should we
podcast.
speak should we speak about one of the biggest sporting events in the world and one of the
Yeah.
most controversial sporting events in recent times? Obviously, 5 days have passed. There's no point in us, like, breaking down what actually happened, but I guess we could talk more about the fallout because that's probably almost more significant than what happened in the match itself.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, we probably could have talked about it in a little detail, the match, but, overall, I think it was a pretty lopsided, one-sided match. It was pretty boring. Not bo It was pretty boring. Like, I
It
understand there's a
wasn't a
lot of
great
action
match.
on one end, so that kinda makes it exciting, but still, I think, like, a final in any sport should be 2 good enough teams that they can go back and forth. So when you have just one team kind of, like, holding on for dear life from minute 1 to minute whatever they gave them, how much time that was crazy, but, like, all the added time and stuff, but, like, it wasn't the best.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the fact that Argentina didn't have a shot on target until the 121st minute or whatever that was, I mean, that says enough. They're the first team ever in a World Cup final history to not have a shot on target during the 90 minutes. It's a pathetic display of football from them. And just like complete anti-football and not in a way that's enjoyable. They're not big enough underdogs to justify that type of approach. They just offered absolutely nothing. I think the way to say it is like the most boring, I think of all of the knockout stage games, it was by far the worst. Like, there were other games, like France-Paraguay was not a great match because they were just kicking the shit out of France, but it was at least sort of compelling in its own way. This was just like one team didn't really show up and had no interest in a sense in showing up. And I mean, the big fallout is obviously the behavior of the Argentinian players, which had been a theme throughout some of the latter stages of the knockout football anyway. And my big takeaway, which I'll lead with, is it has completely changed my perception of Messi. Like, to me, this taints his legacy to such a tremendous degree that I am unwilling, regardless of any other evidence that anyone else presents, to call him the best, like the greatest of all time when it comes to football, because I can't do anything other than judge the fact not only how his team has behaved around him, but also how he also then behaved within the final, which was a little bit of an anomaly to see him actually kind of really participating. But I can't. It will be the lasting memory I have of Messi's career, which is a shame for someone who's just had an outstanding career.
Now, are you saying that in terms of him being the captain and leader of that team, allowing his team to kind of play like thug ball and just kind of try and almost at a point, like when you watch them in their last 3 to 4 matches, it looks like their goal is to in almost injure players without getting cards. Like I mean, you can't deny that they're purposely trying to. It's one thing to get under a player's skin, to be physical and to get under their skin. But when you watch in totality their last like 3 or 4 matches, it's past getting under someone's skin. It's like risking injury, trying to get them off the pitch, trying to like sprain their ankles so they can't run as fast. Like it is aggressive tackles and dirty play, behind the scenes play. Is it more messy allowing that to happen with quote unquote his team? Or is it just the way, like, for instance, he did like the was it Cucurella with the talking
Yeah,
under his
for the
mouth thing, which we can discuss, which was so stupid. Um, Trying to like get
it's
away and be
both.
like the sneaky guy.
In answer to your question, it's both. So it's mostly the first part, which is I agree with you. We have football teams that embrace the dark arts, like Atletico Madrid, year in, year out. They want to get under your skin. They're dirty, but kind of walking the line of, is it dirty? Is it smart? Is it whatever? And occasionally we also play good football, which is, kind of part of it too, is like, we'll mix it up. We'll give it a little bit. We're going to go 20 minutes where we just kick the shit out of you. And then 10 minutes where, oh my God, we play really good attacking football. And it's sort of that change of pace is almost what makes it difficult to play against us. With Argentina, I think it lacked any of that second part. And also the line was left way behind them. And so, it's impossible to defend any of their behavior. Last episode we spoke about the way they celebrate to me is just awful. Just the like celebrating in people's faces. And then to watch the final and to see them on the losing side, and then the kind of butter won't melt in their mouths sort of reaction they have to things. So Enzo Fernandez, who goes from like he talks himself into his first yellow card by gesticulating at the referee, and then after he gets the yellow card, sort of sarcastically applauding him, and then just obliterates a player, and then goes like, "Well, what have I done? What have I done?" Meanwhile, you then watch the full like thing, and the Argentinian players are so smart that one of them goes down hurt as the foul occurs, so they can then try and point to like, can we get a VAR review of a foul that may have happened previously to try and save our player? And you have Messi like run up and say, "Look at that." I think it's hard to imagine if we go greatest of all time in any sport. Can you think of a player who played on a team where you don't think at a certain moment in time they kind of went, "Gonna play my way"? Like, this is my legacy to an extent is how my team plays. Like, and most of the time, the greatest of all times had to actually rise above the teams that are trying to kind of like Jordan had to go through the Pistons who had the Jordan rules of just fouling him anytime he got into the paint. Like, that was his thing to overcome. It wasn't him saying, "Let's foul Magic Johnson every time he gets the ball." Like, that's how we're going to win. And I don't think you deserve the greatest of all time tag. And we also spoke about like I lost respect for this Argentinian team over the course of the tournament anyway, because how just sort of like fanboyish they are about Messi anyway, that like they all exist to deliver wins to Messi. So within that ecosystem, like mindset, to not have Messi say like, "I don't want wins this way." Like if it's either me winning, playing proper football, we've got lots of talented players. If it's either me winning that way or it's me losing, I'd rather lose. And I can't not judge him. And I can't think of a player in any other sport who I would consider the greatest of all time, who I would then have deeply associated with sort of like cheating, dirty play, like underhanded tactics. Like I can't. I've spent the last week basically trying to come up with an example of a player in another sport, and I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the closest you can get, and it's not even close, it's not even probably in the same arena, would be Brady with the somewhat
Def-
scandals that the Patriots had. But at the
Deflategate or
same
Spygate.
yeah, like, they, towards the end, became a somewhat disliked team, but nowhere near like, just not even close to like, they still played hard, and if anything, they exemplified Tom Brady in the way that, like, a lot of their team weren't superstars, but they played really hard, they practiced really hard, and they were super well prepared. Like, the Patriots, maybe they had some of those scandals, but at the end of the day, they were a team that was, like, over prepared and ready to go and would do, like, above and beyond to be the best team, even though maybe athletically they weren't the best. That is completely different than what we saw with Argentina when they didn't have the best team. They had Messi, but a lot of the rest of their team, isn't that great or of like the highest caliber players. And instead of rising above and practicing hard and togetherness, they just decided to be dirty and take out other players on other teams to then become the best players when there's no one fucking left because they're all in the medical tent.
But I mean, they prepared to do that. You know what I mean? Like that is what they prepared to do. They did it in
Yeah.
such an intelligent way. It wasn't haphazard. And I agree with you. I mean, look, part of the Patriots' hate is like just that they were good. And yes, if you're good for an extended period of time, you're going to get haters, which every team will have. But yes, I think you're right with Spygate or Deflategate that sort of somewhat tarnishes Brady's record. And you can kind of think of those of, how much did that play a part in some of the success they had? But you're also right that kind of represents like Brady is not the most talented quarterback ever to play in the NFL, but he might be the best quarterback ever to play in the NFL. And in a sense, the Deflategate and Spygate might lean into the preparation side of how he approached things. And you can read into that what you will. I mean, we say all the time, I think Aaron Rodgers is more talented, quote unquote, quarterback than Tom Brady, but I know who I want to be playing for my team down 6 with a minute to go. Like there's no doubt. But which one of them has the better arm, the more sort of natural God-given talent? Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I don't know. I've really spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I again, longtime listeners of the podcast will know I've kind of always been more in the Ronaldo camp because my biggest argument for Ronaldo has always been that I think Ronaldo is more adaptable to more styles of play, can play more positions, can play in more leagues, can do all of those things. And this World Cup, they're so old. Like there's no, it shouldn't be altering their legacy in terms of their ability. But it just kind of, I don't know. I think I'm going to die in the Ronaldo camp. Like what I've seen from this is just like, I do think that fundamentally, whilst Ronaldo, yeah, look, you can point to the winking after Rooney got sent off in 2006 and, lots of little things. He definitely got underneath people's skins at different moments in time. But realistically, there's sort of part of him which is just pure football in a way that should be celebrated. And now with Messi, well, I think he's just an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
and
I don't know if you saw
yeah.
I think before the match, they had a little bit about like what Messi had said to the team, and it was kind of like it sounded like it was along the lines of like, let's just play real football and not get caught up in this like trying to attack them and play dirty and this and that. I think that's the right message, and you can say like, well, look, like Messi said this, like he didn't want to play like that, but as a captain, and not only a captain, but like an absolute icon, right? Like there's a like
He's
what
the
we're
cult.
talking about is different.
He's the cult.
Yes,
He's the cult leader of that
yeah.
team. It's
I-
it's it's a
If you're
status that
that
I actually
person,
don't think any other player has ever had in any sport.
yeah. And if you're that person and you give that pregame speech and then you see them go out and just be as dirty and as nasty as they were, then that's kind of on you still to then bring them in and even in that first hydration break and be like, listen, what the fuck did I just say? Like, we can't be playing like this. Like, it's gonna come back to haunt us eventually. Like, we're playing Spain. We're not playing Egypt now. Like they're good. Like, if we get down a man, we're gonna get dominated. And like, so
But
that's still
but
on
not
him.
even
Like
that because
people can point to
because
that pregame thing, but you still have to. If you're a true captain and a true leader, you have to get your players to actually listen to you, and he clearly
uh,
didn't.
no, I mean I think look that was nice for the cameras. Look again, this is a team it's a smooth operation. Do I not think that part of them thought, we know there are cameras on and microphones. Will we look a little bit better if Messi comes? He never speaks. If he comes out and says, let's play good football. Come on, let's play football with them. Won't that be smart? Won't we make us look better when we lifting that trophy after we've kicked the shit out of the Spanish for 90 minutes? Won't we look a little bit better? Won't this help Messi's legacy? Like again, at this point, now I have to think because you're right. Like, but I mean, they'd gone through the whole World Cup doing this. It's not as if they got to the final and then they reverted to this and he's maybe trying on the pitch to get them out of it. Like they did it the whole World Cup. And with the high watermark probably being England in the semifinals. And he had ample opportunity throughout that tournament to kind of stamp his foot down. And they even did it in 2022. Like, and this is kind of in the Argentinian DNA in terms of how they play football to a large degree. So it's not as if this isn't a new issue, but he has had plenty of opportunity over the years to say, like, this is not, I don't want to be remembered, especially now that they'd won a World Cup. How easy is it for him to say, like, look, we've won a World Cup in 2022. I don't want to be remembered for the team I play for in the international stage playing football like this. I don't want it to be. So if you are all here to sort of take part in the Messi journey, which is seemingly what you're all signed up for, then that means again, they're good footballers. This isn't the, you know, some small country sort of trying to keep pace. Like those are talented footballers. They will go back to their clubs and not play the same style of football that they've just played. And I don't know. I think it's shameful. I genuinely think, honestly, if FIFA had any balls, I think Argentina should be out of the next World Cup. That obviously will not happen, and it definitely won't happen because it's a centenary World Cup and one match is being played in Argentina, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to happen. But realistically, if the sport had any balls, it would look at the number of things that happened over the course of that tournament and say, you need proper punishment, and the only appropriate punishment to tell you that this is not the way the sport should be played, is you cannot participate in the next trophy. And you're right, like, the icing on the cake in terms of judging Messi is and it's a little bit of an outlier in terms of seeing him really participate, was the moment after the red card, and he goes up to Cucurella, and Cucurella is explaining that the Spanish player has an injury in his mouth.
Yep.
And then Messi reacts by doing like, he covered his mouth, send him off. And that, you can't convince me that Ronaldo would ever do it. You just can't. And if
So did you see
like
the video that came? And I don't know when it was, but there's a
against
video of
Uzbekistan.
yes,
Yeah.
of Ronaldo actually telling the player, "Don't cover your mouth. You're gonna get carded." Because like it was Uzbekistan
Yes.
player saying, and obviously he wasn't saying something dirty to him, obviously, because the way Ronaldo like. But it doesn't matter because at the same time, Cucurella wasn't saying anything dirty to Messi, who was literally telling him he hurt his mouth or his lip.
Yeah,
So
it's
like
like a lip cut or whatever, yeah.
the contrast there is just that was pretty crazy. You have one player telling the other player, don't ever cover your mouth again because they're going to catch it and you're going to get a red card. Like you don't want to do that to your team. And the other guy trying to make up a fake covering of the mouth so he can get his team a red card. It's just so,
And
it's
look,
so like, come on, you're the best ever. You shouldn't need to be pathetic like that to get an advantage.
and look, I know listeners of the podcast, and if you're a big Messi, we have to point out the difference, right? Ronaldo did in a group stage game against Uzbekistan, where probably Portugal were 3-0 up at the time. The context is different versus a World Cup final where your team has just gone down to 10 men. But still, it's just a distinct lack of class. And to me, it will be the thing I remember Messi for.
No, but now
like this will.
If you were to take that further, and let's say by some stretch in the imagination, they actually give him the red card for what looked like he was covering his mouth when he's saying something. What Messi would have to then go to the press conference and say, that would tarnish his legacy so much. It just
Well, here's
it bothers
the
me.
first
It bothers
part.
me so much that he would do that.
Messi doesn't do press conferences. So we would never have heard him, because in the same way we haven't heard him say anything after it. And again, this is where I'll say there's also a difference between Ronaldo. Ronaldo might get sometimes annoyed with journalists and doesn't like the questions, but he at least has the like dignity to go and stand there and try and answer and play that part. Messi just, I'm a shy little boy. I don't speak to the press. I'm shy. I'm so shy. And you can get away with that until it's like, well, you're not that shy, are you? Because you're a bit of a dick. So like either play the shy boy card and then tell your team to all be shy boys. And we can live with that. We can watch a bunch of shy
weird.
And we can watch a bunch of shy boys run around on the final. Because here's the other reason too why I judge Messi for his legacy. And we were very critical of Portugal probably overusing Ronaldo throughout this tournament. And Messi's had a very good World Cup and probably should have won player of the tournament based on the sort of statistical output. Like versus Rodri, it feels a bit like you give the MVP to the winning player, but like Messi in real competitive games scored the most goals, like Mbappe, like stealing the golden boot in the weird England-France game. It counts, but it shouldn't almost. And then he had the most assists, right? Like he kind of deserves that award. But we were critical of Ronaldo for being overused. Argentina should have taken Messi off at different moments in that game. They should have realized, even prior to going to extra time, they should have realized, like, we are being suffocated by Spain's possession, and we can't afford to have a player who can't defend, but who also poses very little threat when we do get the ball, because he can't take part in like a fast break. He's not like, we can't counterattack through Messi really. So we have this player who just like does nothing at this stage, and they just left him on for the entire match whilst they were able to create nothing. And like, of course, Ronaldo's not volunteering to go off in under similar circumstances, but in a sense, the cult of Messi eventually came back to hurt Argentina. I don't think taking Messi off wins them the match, but they might have at least been more competitive down to 10 men in extra time with 10 players who could close down and compete and maybe occasionally get forward versus they just have, I made jokes about it last episode, right? But they just have Messi strolling around and scanning the pitch endlessly, but can't get the ball and can't defend and can't do anything.
Yeah. And then, so I guess the other big talking point for that match is it both within the match and then after. So what's crazy to me is the Argentinian players and coaches they then complained that they were getting bookings that weren't bookings in that match. And if you go back and watch that, I think they still got the rub of the green in 90% of that match. Like there should have been way more bookings, maybe even another red. Like they got away with a lot, but then they finally got called out for some of their BS and it ended up costing them, but probably still not nearly as much as they should have. So that part kind of angered me a little bit, where they had like the balls to kind of say like, "Oh, the refs were unfair to us." Like, no, they weren't. If anything, they were still really fair to you, but eventually they put their foot down. But then that on the pitch is one thing, but then afterwards, with the fights and the punching and all of that for who was it? Paredes, right? Got the red, which has now been
Yeah.
rescinded, is fucking crazy. How does that get rescinded? He turned around and punched a guy after the match. Like, you lost. Get off. Like, you're done. Goodbye. Like, you can't be picking fights after you lost the World Cup final. Throw a punch, get a red, and have that rescinded. I think that's a terrible look on FIFA.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's not a single Argentinian player that comes out of this looking decent. You're right, like the Paredes like issue and just like players being thrown to the ground. And, you know, just awful behavior by all of them. Yeah, the Otamendi arguing with Rodri, which, like they're former teammates. And, lip readers have said that, Otamendi said to Rodri, start talking less, you big baby. You were whining all week. You were whining all week long. You and Laporte, both of you, you don't do that. You were whining to the referees, my friend. And Rodri responded by telling him to have some respect. Again, I can respect them. If they're going to be heels, be heels. And that's fine. Live by the sword, die by the sword. You want to be physical. You want to be assholes. You want to leave a couple challenges in late. And we'll get away with it sometimes. We won't others. They can't have any complaints. Enzo Fernandez just obliterates that player. In and of itself,
His
it's
reaction
a red card,
is
probably.
insane.
Yeah, and yeah, then you had Scaloni after. Scaloni crying, saying he'd done everything he could. What are you talking about? Your team played awful football throughout the tournament. You were lucky in every knockout stage. They were lucky to make it through. Legitimately lucky. And that's fine. You can be lucky and you can win a tournament. And I'm not going to begrudge you that fact. But there's this juxtaposition of how they perform on the pitch and then how they want to be perceived off of it or after it. And I hate it. I really hate it. And it's the only thing that this World Cup, I came into this with a sort of little bit of a rivalry when it came to Argentina. I, till the day I die now, will hate Argentina in everything. And they solidified that for me too. And this you won't have seen, but England played Argentina in rugby on Saturday. And that match also spilled over with Argentina behaving really poorly throughout it in a sport in which the respect for your opponent and the respect for referees is normally super, super high. And Argentina also sunk to a level that, basically almost unseen in international rugby, and also complained after the match about things. And you just go and even in that, they wanted to so bask in the victory that they'd had over England in midweek in the semifinal that then for the England-Argentina match, the rugby team wore these retro 1986, rugby recreation of the Hand of God game shirts.
God.
You go you pathetic little fuckers that your national identity is so tied to an obvious moment of cheating. Like, I mean, like, if an England player had pulled off the hand of God, might I, like, joke and laugh a little bit at it if, say, I had an Argentinian friend? Maybe. But I wouldn't have it as a moment of pride for my country. I'm like, remember that moment that this player we idolize and call a god just, like, outright cheated and got away with it, and wasn't it wonderful? Like, this is how special we are. But, yeah, I
Messi almost
just
did it again by
shameful.
getting the red card.
Yeah, it was just shameful. I mean, just really shameful. Yeah, I think it's tainted all of their legacies. I can't help but think, like they've turned the world against them, the world of football. And sure, but in the next 4 years, it will mostly be forgotten by lots of people. But
I
just
mean,
awful. And like,
it's just crazy to me that after everything that happened throughout this tournament, I think most people who were pretty avid watchers of that tournament would say like, "Oh, there's definitely gonna be some repercussions for this team moving forward, whether it's certain players are sitting out for certain matches to start or they're getting some sort of penalty or fine." Like, I for sure thought there was gonna be some sort of repercussion, but instead to actually have, like, things retracted and, like, go for them post-match, like, I don't understand. Like, I just it just shows me how corrupt the system is, like, anyone who's watching that, like, any normal person would be like, "No, we've gotta do something here. Because if we don't set a tone, then next World Cup's gonna come, and they're gonna do the exact same shit, and who knows, maybe this time someone actually gets severely hurt when they hit someone in the back of the head when the ref's not looking, or they, like, completely miss the ball and just take out someone's ankle. Like, it could be a much more severe,
yeah, it could
uh,
be awful.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have someone end their career. It could be
No,
that could be the it.
let's
And,
let's support bad sportsmanship and shit talking and post-match, being assholes. Let's support that type of behavior. It's good for kids growing up in the sport to see that when you lose a match playing like an asshole the entire match, you can then just turn around and start punching people because you didn't get your way. That's the way you should act post-match.
like, look, ultimately, there will be no repercussions other than they've lost some supporters. And again, I said this previously. If that were England, I wouldn't support them playing that way. I just wouldn't. It's so shameful. I couldn't support a team. And again, I'll draw lines. If you're a feisty underdog and you have to just do everything you can sometimes to win, okay, I can respect it at times. You still can't cross the line, but I understand that if you just go like, we can't go toe to toe, we have to do what we have to do. And because you can almost say in that situation of like, we're not even proud of it, but we're just trying to win. And so we're going to try every trick in the book to try and get there. But in a situation where you go like, oh, we have the self-proclaimed greatest footballer of all time, and we think we have the greatest goalkeeper in the world right now, and we have like a handful of other very talented players who play at big clubs around the world and in Europe, and this is the best we can do. I would be ashamed. But ultimately the big testament to this is I think every non-Argentinian in the world was hoping for them to lose,
For
and
sure.
the number of former footballers who have come out and like tweeted or put on Instagram or done whatever, like football was the winner, all that stuff, that should tell any Argentinian just the levels they sunk to, because it takes a lot for people to kind of stick their necks out and make those types of comments, especially when the team they're targeting includes Messi. Like, you have to know that you are going after, again, the self-proclaimed greatest player of all time. So the backlash there is potentially more significant. But it was awful. It was football. Whilst it was the winner in the sense that Spain won, I think football ultimately was the loser in that a team playing that style of football got to the final. And in an otherwise very enjoyable World Cup that I think produced a lot of really great matches and some thrilling finishes and some like wonderful moments, Argentina were just a massive stain on the entire tournament that somehow got to run through the full thing. And that's a shame, because I think when we look back, ultimately, I think 30 years from now, when we talk about like Canada, Mexico, USA 26, my two lasting memories will be the Balogun controversial rescinded red card, or rescinded suspension and just the way Argentina played football. And there were so many other like wonderful moments throughout that World Cup of like Cape Verde's success and, like African nations doing better than they've ever done before. And even like the USA, Canada, and Mexico all doing extremely well on their own merits. But yet my memory is going to be like, those fucking assholes made it all the way to the final and ruined it as a spectacle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I hate to be this type of supporter and type of person, but, and quickly, I'll give you like 3 to 5 minutes to talk about the 3rd place match of England versus France, but, after watching England in that 3rd place match, and I understand it's not a real match, it is, but it isn't. You just watch that and you think, "Man, if England just had scored that goal and continued to play the way they were playing and made to the final." I'm not saying they win. By no stretch of the imagination do I say that they,
Well, they lose.
but they make that 1,000 times more enjoyable match to watch than what it was. They
Oh,
at least get a
look,
shot on target. They at least get a shot
yes.
on target.
Look, in the largest World Cup in terms of number of teams that have ever taken place, any other team, if they'd made it to the final, would have made it a more enjoyable match. Like, I mean that honestly. Like, the worst team in the tournament would have still made it more enjoyable. I would have rather watched Spain Curacao than Spain Argentina as the final. And look, yes, there were England France. Say
Second best
maybe the
finish
most.
ever, Eddie. Second best finish ever in a World Cup.
Yes.
3rd place.
Let's say maybe the most fun match of the tournament, like the 6-4, lots of goals, just end to end. No one was defending. It was like watching like an
A training
NBA
match.
All-Star game,
Yeah.
like. And I think, look, I think there'll be some fallout within the French squad because you hear like what Mbappe and Rabiot said post match and how disappointed they were in certain French players for just like not putting in any effort in that first half, and how they felt like not only was that disrespectful to the World Cup as a thing, but also to France when you're representing your country, and also to Deschamps coaching his last match. I think that there are reasons for France to kind of think about what the culture was within that team. And it's maybe notable in terms of the role Dembele may have played in that after what we spoke about after the last game of his like halftime team talk for falling flat. But whilst I read nothing into that in terms of like, are England better than France? I know, no. Like, yes, England rested more players than France did in England. But my only 2 big takeaways from this were A, you saw elements of why England should have kept wingers on during that game, because as France pushed forward, you just saw like what Rashford and Saka offered as a threat of like one ball suddenly unlocks the entire opposition because you have pace out wide that can just suddenly create an attacking opportunity out of nothing. And within the first sort of 20, 30 minutes of that match, you just saw like what England should have had on the pitch. And maybe they still would have lost against Argentina. I mean, it's not like definitely would have won if Rashford and Saka had come on, but we saw at least what could have happened. And then the other thing is like just the weird, what does this mean for Saka that he played the full 97 minutes of that match, but didn't
Yeah.
come on?
3 days before, he wasn't fit at all. He couldn't come on 3 days before, but in a meaningless 3rd place match, he can play the whole fucking match. Fine. And not only can he play it, he played well. Like, he looked.
Yeah, I mean, he
I
looked fit
understand.
at least.
He looked
Play
he
well
looked
as
normal.
he
He
looked
looked
fit.
normal.
He looked fit. And like I get it. The basically the speculation is that Tuchel was like rolling the dice of we need a fit Saka for the World Cup final. Fine, if that's why you didn't start him, I get it. But in the final 20 minutes of that match, because I mean, like, look, Arsenal supporters love to roll out the Saka started as a left back. He can actually defend quite well. I mean, he didn't really start as a left back, but he broke into the Arsenal team as a left back because that was the position that they needed him in at the time. But like, yeah, you can at least tell me that Saka can do like a serviceable job as a wing back. And so in the moment when England were backs to the wall against Argentina, you bring him on because he can somewhat competently defend, but also can run with the ball, offers pace out wide, can, like pick the ball up, make one player miss a tackle, get fouled, waste a crucial minute in the process. Like all the things England desperately needed in that final 20 minutes against Argentina. And so, yeah, I think for Tuchel, it's a question as to what happened there. In the same way, it's also a question of like what happened with Mainu. And
And
what like, why was he selected to then never play a second? And why was he conveniently injured then for this third place game where you were heavily rotating your squad? I don't
and
know.
and
It's not a
and
great
I think
look.
also, like, a big question on Rashford too, with Tuchel and Rashford, and kinda like why he abandoned Rashford towards the end of that tournament when and again, he looked good in that 3rd place match. Again, I understand it's like a training match, but he looked like he was moving well and being able to make plays and do things, and that would have been the great opportunity to put him in after England went up and have him be that guy where you kinda just send the long ball and hope he gets one and creates chaos and, like you said, like, again, just like similar to Saka, like, can at least maybe get the ball and waste some time, if anything, and, grab a foul, waste some more time, like and the fact that he was, like, completely abandoned almost the last 2, 3 matches, I don't it makes no sense to me.
Well, yeah, people were very hard on Rashford. I mean, he's a player who gets a lot more criticism than I think he deserves consistently, but and, like, it's bizarre that, you know, he's fundamentally almost without a club at the moment because he's back to Manchester United who don't want him, but no one else really wants to take him. So, like, look, there might be elements to Marcus Rashford that mean that he is more complicated than meets the eye in some respects, but, like, I don't think he had a terrible World Cup, so he felt underused. I don't know. And look, reports are that Pep Guardiola has turned down the opportunity to manage Italy. I pray to God that that means that England have had some degree of conversation with Pep Guardiola and are about to say Auf Wiedersehen, Thomas Tuchel, and Hola Pep Guardiola, because like, God, I can't. As I said, I'm in the same way that I couldn't support Argentina with how they played. I'm so disappointed with what Tuchel has done in the end in that tournament that I can't have him be the one who brings England success now. I can't. I cannot fully support them in the next major tournament if it means that Thomas Tuchel will somehow be justified in just the embarrassment that he delivered in that semifinal. But yeah, so nothing to really read into that match other than the fact that turns out some England players were fitter than we maybe thought they were. I think that was a big takeaway. Other than that, in a quick sports roundup, obviously the Open took place last weekend. We don't really have to go into too much about the winner and like major tournament that was very surprise winner who seems immensely charming to contrast what we just talked about within football. But again, slightly overshadowed by Bryson DeChambeau getting a 2-stroke penalty for like improving his lie and then denying it, which the big takeaway from it is that he threatened to call Trump in attempts
No,
to
he
get the pen.
He threatened that yeah, well, yeah, yeah. He threatened to them that he would call Trump to call them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What a loser move. Like, because here's the thing ultimately I would say to this. It's a loser move. Like, if I'm Trump, and I know this isn't how Trump thinks, but if I'm Trump, I'm like calling Deschambeau to be like, to use modern parlance, take your name out of my fucking mouth. Out of your fucking mouth. Sorry.
Take my
Like, 'cause
wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
yes.
I
Yeah.
just
And I would,
recently rewatched that and popped up on something, and I was like, "Oh, man, I forgot how awkward that was."
yeah. And the world has moved on. But it's this like post-truth world that we now live in, where Deschambeau is like telling people he definitely didn't improve his lie, even though anyone with an even like basic understanding of golf knows that he definitely did. And all the other professional players were happy to come out and say, maybe he didn't mean it, but he definitely did it. So kind of deserves a punishment. And him to just be like, that's not what you saw. And he posting on Instagram like videos of him, like images of him like levitating above the grass and stuff. I, just what a loser. As live golf falls apart, what a massive loser.
Speaking similar on the kind of loser front, what's going on with Tom Brady post-retirement? It's a kind of a sad downfall to watch. First he had that thing where, like, he really wasn't rooting for the Patriots, which is really fucking weird, like, just a really strange, weird move, and now he's got this, like, fake feud thing going on with Logan Paul. It's like, I don't understand it. It's not as if he's someone who needs more money or, like, needs to be more famous than he is. He's already, like, probably the most famous American athlete maybe, like, if he walks into a room, everyone knows he's Tom Brady. Like, he's very recognizable, he's very well known. I don't understand why he's like signing himself up to do like fake feuds for like the Fanatics Festival with Logan Paul to potentially set up some like WWE match with Logan Paul. Like it's so weird and it's just it really sheds a little bit of light into maybe who he actually is, which at the end of the day, maybe that's what it is. That's just the guy he is. But it's like someone's got to tell this guy to just like, you don't need to be doing this. Like, doesn't he have a publicist?
Yeah, but this is the problem, right? I mean, like, sort of slightly bastardized the sort of Pat Riley disease of more. We have created a society in general, but especially within athletes, where they're just never satisfied. And if you're Tom Brady, like, yeah, you're right. Like, someone around him should say, hey, look, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Now you're a part owner of an NFL franchise, and you're an announcer on one of the major networks. And you have your, like, TB12 brand, so you're still making some money off the supplements or whatever else he's selling through that, and he can do, a handful of commercials per year as well. Isn't that enough? Like, if anything, maybe we should pull a little bit of this back already. But unfortunately, we've just like created this idea with athletes and famous people and all people of like, you should always be earning more money at all times. And like, hustle needs to be respected. And so if you're not milking the world for every possible cent, every moment, waking moment, you're the loser. And it's just sad. But like, should he have people around him who say that? 100%. Will he? No, because they all make money off of him too. So, like his publicist, his agent, his lawyers, all of them are going to be like, look, I get 10% of this. So
Slap
if
Logan Paul
Tom's willing
more.
to embarrass himself, yeah, if you're going to get a fight with Logan Paul that makes $150 million for you, and I'm getting, like some guys are like, oh, I get 800,000 of that. Like, that's a pretty good cut, and I have to do jack shit. Then, like everyone involved. But yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. And like, I miss the days of people just retiring into virtual anonymity, basically, unless you were like one of the 10 people who could get an announcer job, media job, or you just were so famous that like the world would never leave you alone. Like, I mean, even Michael Jordan, relatively speaking, has had an anonymous
Yeah.
post-retirement career.
Why can't you all just be
I
super
mean, yeah,
competitive gambleholics?
just a massive dickhead and semi-ruin an NBA franchise that you bought. Like, why isn't that enough for people? Why can't Tom Brady just run the LA Raiders into the ground like an old-fashioned sports icon, and then everyone can hate him? But yeah, like it's sad to see because, again, in the similar vein to the Messi conversation, you do run a risk of kind of tainting your legacy. And certainly, like, it almost feels like it's this desperate thing of like, I want to be relevant. Like, I'm not happy with the fact that if I retire and even if I'm just an announcer, like, I think some people, like, I think if you're Brady, you would be like, I don't want to be, not that he could ever be because I don't want to be Tony Romo, who's arguably now more famous as an announcer than he was as a player. And that for a large percentage of people, he's an announcer first, like Tony Romo, the announcer, who also played for the Dallas Cowboys.
Who also just got arrested on suspicion of DWI
Yeah,
today.
okay. But you know what I mean, though? He's just trying to keep himself in the news. His publicist pulled some strings to get him arrested. Yes. But I think someone like Brady or whatever, it's like, I want to be just as relevant to every young person now as I was to a young person in like 2006. It's like, life doesn't work that way. And just accept you're going to be so relevant to so many people forever because there are people who are 20 years younger than you for whom you are still like the name they associate most with the NFL. So until you die, you're going to have a decent percentage of the population who's still going to think of you as like just as a quarterback. Just accept that and move on. Like, And ultimately, I just blame people like Pat McAfee, who've just completely monetized the idea of being just obnoxious and ever present. And, you know,
Yeah,
it's
Pat
it's
McAfee.
the
It's
worst.
on you.
But you know what I mean? It's the worst example of like what that retirement, because it's like, well, Pat McAfee's a billionaire now. So look how he maximized his potential. He was a kicker. No one knew who the fuck he was. He was earning like $5 million a year as a player. And if you're Tom Brady, you're like, if Pat McAfee can do that, I should be fucking trillionaire. Like, there's like Pat McAfee can't be like more quote unquote more successful than I am. That's not possible. And rather than just like, who gives a shit? I had an amazing career. Pat McAfee would trade lives with me every day of the week. Instead of just saying that to yourself, it's let me slap Logan Paul. You know,
And then give him the finger across the stadium.
yeah. Which we also need to talk. People need to stop. There's an age where you can't give the finger anymore. It's a too juvenile of an act. You know what I mean? Like I occasionally get given, especially with the road rage incidents I get into, you occasionally get given the finger by someone. If you're over like 25, 26, and you seriously give someone the finger, mm, you got to progress onto a more mature gesture.
Mooning them.
Yes. Sticking your tongue out.
All right. Well, with that, I've got some soup dumplings calling my name for a late night dinner here. So let's call it a
That's
day.
not that late, but yes.
Actually, I've got a flight in 9 hours. So chances I
Whoa,
miss
you
that
might.
flight.
I
The
mean,
6
why
a.m.
you should?
flight, never a good
Why
option.
don't you go to the airport now?
I might have to. No, you can only enter the lounge 3 hours early. So,
Boy, a lounge boy.
oh, I got Tim
The
into the
lounge
lounge.
boys, the lounge boys, and the shy boys. You can all go hang out together.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.